I was looking through my library of games and saw good old Force Unleashed. It's been 14 years since it came out and 10 since I bought it for the Wii. This was my favorite game franchise as a kid. I even had some of the one-off merchandise run. Also, I bought it for the DS just so I could play it at my dad's house. The story, well, I'm gonna be honest, it's a bit batshit and incomprehensible. And I have no clue how the fuck it got greenlit without major edits. It's so ridiculous that it cycles around to be fantastic. The music is a combo of John Williams tracks from the films and some original compositions. It does its job pretty well. It feels perfectly at home in the Star Wars universe. The combat is a hack and slash with heavy emphasis on force use, to the point that the combos and bullshit you can pull off feel pretty satisfying. I've always bitched that lightsabers should instantly annihilate everything in front of them, but I understand the decision not to. Also, boss fights would be awful if you died in one hit, and vice versa. An extensive list of combos can be unlocked, and some have force implementation, making them even more overpowered. Parrying is fun and it will save your life during bosses. In this game, you finally get to be an OP force monster, throwing troops into the stratosphere or smacking people into each other for shits and giggles. The force powers you get are pretty good too. You have your grip, repulse, lightning, shield, and saber throw. For some reason, there are several versions of this game, and each of them has some unique powers the others don't. For instance, on the Wii version, Starkiller can force choke, and he has this thing called Force Maelstrom. It came in clutch back when I played the game as a kid. Lightning in this game is amazing. It's not only a great asset, but it helps balance combat with the more challenging enemies like the Imperial Purge Troopers. The QTEs for mini-bosses are okay, I don't mind them. They get a bit overused with the bosses, but we get some pretty fun interactive cutscenes before filleting them. Throughout the levels, you fight a range of different bosses: remnants of the Jedi Order, Rancors, Imperial Walkers, Darkside users, and Shadow Guards that are much like the Inquisitors. They are force sensitives trained to hunt and kill Jedi. Enemy variety isn't terrible, but I wouldn't have minded a few extra vehicles or enemy reskins based on the planet you're on. There are a few problems though. One is the camera. It's a pain in the ass and constantly fights you. If I didn't play with my hands in the claw shape, I have no idea how someone would beat this on the hardest difficulty. I don't even want to try the mouse and keyboard. The other is that falls will send you back to the checkpoint, and dying makes you entirely redo puzzles you already completed due to lousy spacing. Also, the stun lock is atrocious. I have no idea how to get out of it other than mashing buttons and hoping I regain control. It's really unreliable as well. The story in this game's not too bad, it just comes off as incredibly half-baked at some parts, and most plot points have no build-up whatsoever. The romance between Juno and Starkiller came out of nowhere, and when he eventually dies, it means nothing to her. On to the good parts. I like Coda helping Starkiller even though he knew he was the Sith who blinded him and left him for dead in space. He helped the one who ruined his life because it was the right thing to do, and the fate of the galaxy rested in his hands. Vader turned Starkiller into his lapdog, much like the Emperor did to him during Order 66. The plot is Vader sending Starkiller to hunt down his enemies and wiping out remnants of the Jedi Order. His final task was to use him as bait to capture the rebels. After being left for dead, Juno saves him and the two head off to the Death Star to save the rebellion during its infancy. You have a final showdown with Vader, and here's where the two endings come into play. You either strike down Vader and become Lord Starkiller, twisted and disfigured just like Vader years before, or you beat Vader and hold off Palpatine, sacrificing yourself to help secure the fate of the galaxy. I like this. It's a story of a young Force user, tortured and twisted by the lust for power, who turns to the light to save countless lives at the cost of his own. It's incredibly cheesy, however, and the facial animations are god-awful despite being mocap. Also, Palpatine's voice actor feels like he's playing a completely different character. He comes off as a fucking idiot in this game.
You are all traitors to the Empire. You will be interrogated, tortured. You will give me the names of your friends and allies. And then you will die.
Darth Vader comes off as a reflection of the player's dilemma, with him being held captive to his master's will, but he wasn't quite ready to break free. Juno's in the plot because Edgelord doesn't have a license and needs someone to be horny over. Proxy, the droid that tries to kill you several times in the game, his voice is obnoxious, but I like him. Vader programmed him to try and hunt him at a young age because Vader's an insane asshole. This version of the game has all DLC, and I'm gonna go through those now. The first is a Jedi Temple DLC with Galen searching for answers on who his father was. On the way, he fights through platoons of soldiers and a bunch of Force-sensitive training droids. In the end, you do some puzzles and you fight the version of yourself that killed Vader. I enjoyed this DLC quite a bit and I thought it added to the story. The following two DLCs are about Lord Starkiller after he kills Vader and gets his own set of cybernetic armor. The first is on Tatooine. You fight through Jabba's palace looking for information on the locations of C-3PO and R2. Jabba tries using his Rancor, but we kill him like the 5 other ones we killed in the main game. We escape by using Proxy's Gamorrean disguise and murder Boba Fett. Lord Starkiller departs to Mos Eisley, and there you fight Obi-Wan and kill him by force pushing him into the Millennium Falcon's exhaust. Then his Force Ghost shows up and tries to hold us off while the others escape. It works, except a tracking beacon gets placed on the ship and we cut to credits. Final DLC picks up at the beginning of Empire Strikes Back, with Lord Starkiller wiping out Wampas, rebels, and anything that gets in his way. After a brief confrontation with Luke, you head to the hangar to stop their escape. You kill the remaining rebels and destroy the shield generators. Luke finally commits to the fight. After a QTE, Starkiller tells him the truth.
I will destroy you, Skywalker, as I destroyed your father.
The cycle is finally complete. Luke falls like his father before him. I really enjoyed these expansions, and it was nice to have a what-if story come to life in the Star Wars universe. The fact you can play it too makes it even better. I actually had a lot of fun replaying this. There are some issues though. The game is locked at a native 30 FPS and getting a high resolution requires editing the config file. Not everyone knows how to do that, but it was an easy fix. I downloaded an edited EXE to get the game to run at a sexy 60 FPS, and it worked like a charm. One issue though, something in the original release caused a slight upward drift while grabbing things with the Force. This is exponentially worse at higher frame rates and why I'm scared to play this game when I upgrade my monitor. It's only an issue on the Jedi Temple DLC where it makes it impossible to progress, but you constantly have to fight it throughout the entire game. I had to fully reinstall the game to get the 30 FPS working just so I could beat the puzzle, and then switch back to the 60 FPS EXE for the Dark Apprentice boss. Also, here's a quick PSA for everyone trying to get older games to work on new hardware and running into issues. Go to PC Gaming Wiki and it'll have comprehensive guides on how to make a game work optimally. Without that, I wouldn't have been able to make this video. Let me know if you think I should do more content like this. I enjoyed making this video and I look forward to making more. If you all want, I can do a video on Force Unleashed too. It'll be the last time I ever touch that game. Have a wonderful day, and whatever you do, stay the fuck away from Duke Nukem Forever.